Hi, I'm Bobby, and I love going to horror conventions. And just from doing that, I've met a lot of celebrities. And I get like Lucy Ricardo, where I get so excited and have so much fun doing it. Now, I don't know if I'm just lucky, but I've never had a negative experience meeting a celebrity. And I almost didn't make this video because I feel bad for the ones I have to leave off. But if you're interested in meeting celebrities too, and would like to hear about my experiences, here are the top 10 celebrities that I have met. Number 10, Russell Striner, who played Johnny in Night of the Living Dead. His famous line in the movie is when they're in the cemetery and he's teasing his adult sister. And he says, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." Now, Russell's in his 70s, but he did the voice for me. He sounded just like he did in the movie. He did the voice for me, and he did the voice for my friend. "They're coming to get you, Katie." When I got my autograph, I asked him if he would write something special, and he said, "How about, 'They're coming to get you, Bobby'?" And that is just what I hoped he would write. Number 9, Mary Pat Gleason, who played Jane Logan on Guiding Light and also wrote for the show, and played Teresa, and I Now Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry. This is the only celebrity that I've ever met on accident. It was at my stepbrother's wedding rehearsal dinner in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Chicago. And my soon-to-be sister-in-law said to me, "I know you're into movies, you gotta meet my aunt, she's an actress." And I was expecting like a theater actress. But what do you know, it was Mary Pat Gleason. She was nice and funny, and I think because I mentioned that my favorite show is the soap opera Dark Shadows, she assumed that I'm really into soaps. So she told me all about Guiding Light. But it was so interesting, I didn't want to mention that I hadn't seen it. Later on, when we got back to the hotel, all of my relatives were asking me, "Who was that lady you were talking to? She looks so familiar. Is she from Chicago?" No, she's my new friend, the movie star. Number 8, Laura Parker, who played the evil witch Angelique on Dark Shadows. Now this might sound crazy, but believe me, it could happen to you too. Now Laura Parker is a lovely lady, but I've only met her once. But I've seen Angelique on Dark Shadows hundreds of times. So I can't help it. To me, that face, those eyes, and that voice are Angelique. And she can still do the evil laugh too. So I was kind of afraid of her. Especially because on the show, a lot of times she'll sound very calm and very polite while she's putting a curse on you and killing your whole family. So even her saying something perfectly normal, like, "Why don't you sit down next to me for the picture," sounds frightening. And at one point she asked her assistant, very politely, "Would you please get me a sandwich?" And I remember thinking, you better get her that sandwich or Angelique's going to kill you. To top it off, she signed my autograph to Bobby, my next victim. Now, I've met Freddie and I've met Reagan McNeil, but no one has scared me like Angelique. Number 7, Victoria Price, the daughter of horror legend Vincent Price. Now, my all-time favorites are the old horror icons, like Bela Lugosi, Dwight Fry, and of course, Vincent Price. But being old horror icons, most of them are, dead. So I'm never going to get to meet them. Or so I think. But a lot of times, their kids, who are now adults, will go to these conventions and represent their parents. It's not quite like meeting the person, but it's as close as you're going to get. And through their kids, you still get to find out what they were like as people. And I found this especially true with Victoria Price. She was so warm and inviting, and seemed excited to meet me, a fan of her dad's. And she told me this marvelous story about how on Halloween, her dad would take her trick-or-treating, and he would hide and jump out and scare the kids. Now, because my favorite Vincent Price role is Egghead on Batman, she wrote on my autograph, "To my excellent friend Bobby." Number 6, Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. This was at Flashback Weekend, which is a horror convention. And whenever I go to a horror convention, I always dress up as Count Dracula. Dracula is my all-time favorite monster. But when it comes to slasher monsters, Freddy Krueger is number 1. Now, the line to meet him was huge. I was told something like 8 hours. So my encounter with him was very short, which is totally understandable. But after I got my autograph, he told me to go back to my coffin. He acknowledged I'm Dracula, and that's just the kind of funny one-liner Freddy Krueger would say. So even though the time was short, Robert Englund made it count. Number 5. Jonathan Frid, who played Barnabas Collins the Vampire on Dark Shadows. This was at a Dark Shadows convention. Now, Jonathan hadn't been to a convention in 10 years, and I believe he was 84 years old. And this was a special return for the 40th anniversary of his character. There were over 1,000 people there, and everyone was so excited to see him. For Dark Shadows fans, Barnabas Collins is Elvis Presley. Then the announcer said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we present Mr. Jonathan Frid," and everyone went crazy. We were all clapping and cheering. Then Jonathan came in, all hunched over with a cane. Then he got on stage and started dancing and twirling the cane in the air. It was magical, like that scene in Willy Wonka when he does a somersault. And on closer examination, I realized it was the wolf's head cane from the show. Now, he had like 800 autographs to sign. They called us up by table. So again, one-on-one time was short. But later on, he wrote a note on his website about his experience with the audience at the convention, and it said, "It takes two to tango, and I thought we made a great team." Number 4, Butch Patrick, who played Eddie Munster. Yes, you, Eddie Munster, on The Munsters. This one was the most special for my inner child. I was 7 when I started watching The Munsters. Not only did I relate to Eddie Munster, I wanted to be Eddie Munster. I always loved spooky things, so I wanted to live in that house. I wanted a pet dragon named Spot, and I wanted my grandpa to be Count Dracula. Nick and I used to run marathons during the summer. It was called Block Party Summer. So there was a Bewitched Be Wednesday, I Love Lucy Tuesday, but my night was a Munster Monday. When I heard that he was going to be at Chicago Pop Culture Con, I had to be there. And I asked him what his favorite part about being on the Munsters was. He said 2 things: riding around in the Munsters car, and when Herman would throw him up in the air and he'd be attached on wires. And it made me want to be Eddie Munster all over again. The whole way there, I was trying to think, what should I have him write on my autograph? Should it be something funny, like darn, darn, darn? But then I thought, no, it's always Munster Monday. By the way, when I took this picture, I may have dressed like Grandpa, but my gosh, did I feel like Herman. Number 3, Paul Sorvino, who played Paulie in Goodfellas. I'm more into horror movies than gangster movies, so I almost didn't meet him. With autographs and selfies, conventions can get expensive, and you can't meet everybody. So I usually pick 3 or 4 people. And the one I wanted to meet was PJ Souls, who plays Linda, the Totally Girl in Halloween. But there totally was a fire in California, where she totally lives, and she totally couldn't make it, which is totally understandable. I was a little disappointed, but these things happen. But I like Goodfellas, and my mom thought Paul Sorvino would be a cool person for me to meet, so I thought, why not meet him instead? But what I didn't know is he is also a professional impressionist. Paul Sorvino said he liked my costume, so I told him Bela Lugosi is my favorite. And then without me asking, he started doing a Bela Lugosi impression for me. Children of the night, what music they make. He sounded just like him. He did more Dracula lines for me. He did Renfield lines for me, including the laugh. He did whole scenes for me. It was amazing. He was above and beyond anything I could have imagined. And to think I almost didn't meet him. It really shows you that sometimes the ones you're on meeting can actually be the most awesome. Number 2, Christopher Pinnock, who played Jeb Hawks, the Thing in the Box, on Dark Shadows. This particular celebrity actually helped me with my homework. This happened on Facebook and not in person. Chris has a Facebook page, and he accepts friend requests from fans. And you can tell by his posts this is his personal page. Like one time he made a status about his dog farting. Meanwhile in school, we were doing informative speeches, and we could do any topic we wanted. So naturally, I chose Dark Shadows. We had to use 4 different sources, and I thought, the worst he could say is no. I'm going to message Chris and ask if I can interview him. So I explained to him that this is a school project, and can I ask you a few questions? And he said, ask away, Bobby. Now, I got kind of excited and actually asked him 12 questions, but he was so open with me. He gave me the answers thoroughly, but he also told me what he was thinking at the time. He swore a couple times, and he told me what a genius he thought the creator-producer Dan Curtis was, and how he missed him. And Chris wasn't getting anything out of this. He was just helping me with the schoolwork. Now, I got an A, and a great experience with the awesome guy, Christopher Pennock. The man, the myth, the thing in the box. Number 1, John Cashier, who was the voice of the Crypt Keeper on Tales from the Crypt. Meeting John Cashier is like meeting both the character and the actor at the same time. He's super nice, will answer all your questions, and appreciate your love of the show, but he could turn on that Crypt Keeper voice and personality like that. You don't need the puppet. That's fake. This is the real Crypt Keeper. He did voicemails for people in character. Hey, kiddies! Leave a message unless the line is dead. Before me and my friend went up to meet him, he was doing a podcast for someone using the voice. And when we went up there, he apologized to us for taking so long, but we told him it was awesome. We loved listening to it. He did the voice for us, and even said, "Thanks for the memories." He acknowledged I'm Dracula. And that's just the kind of corny joke the Crypt Keeper would say. It was literally like the Crypt Keeper come to life. As they all did at this convention, he charged for both the selfie and the autograph. But I was having so much fun and was so excited, he told his assistant, don't charge him for the selfie. How nice! You know, I'm sure the celebrities have fun at these conventions, but to a certain extent they are there to make money. They need money too. But he placed the fun and human interaction above it. My autograph is so groovy too. It says, "To Bobby, my favorite kitty. Hee 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 hee. Your old pal, John Cashier." The hee 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 is the Crypt Keeper's laugh, but in written form. I love it when celebrities personalize the autographs, because it makes it more of a memory and more special just for you. But this is without a doubt the grooviest personalization I've ever gotten. And John Cashier, aka the Crypt Keeper, is the #1 celebrity that I have met. I recommend meeting all of these people, except for Jonathan Frid, but that's only because he's not alive anymore. Yeah, it's going to cost money, and if the line's long, the encounter might be short, but don't sweat it. Just get in there and have fun, and you might just have the experience of a lifetime.